Hey guys, it's John and Jackie of OpenLove101.com. Welcome to our show. Today we're going to be talking about the non-sexual side of swinging no one talks about except us here right now.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Actually, I think we've talked about a lot of these things over the years, and it's in terms of relationship models, some of the things that aren't sexual that you and I experience being in an open relationship are just, I don't know, there's more of it in this style relationship model than there is when I've been in just strictly monogamous relationships. Um, the non-side of the non-sexual, number one, communication.
Yeah.
Like, I am blown away by how from the very beginning you and I and our communication with uh, really about sex, but also about relationships and where our relationship stands and what we're going through individually, what we're feeling inside. All of those things we've discussed, and we still discuss. I mean, it's just grown. Um, I don't think that's a norm for most, for me anyway. In a strictly monogamous relationship, it was not the norm. As a matter of fact, the longer that relationship went on, I maybe it's just me and the person I was with, but it seemed like our communication became less and less in general.
Yeah.
And ours, whenever, especially if we end up having an experience, playing with a play partner individually or as a couple, our communication levels jump because we have that to talk about and where that can lead to and other things. It's really amazing.
It really is. And I think that can be one of those things where people get confused about the relationship model that we have. We're in this, call it consensually non-monogamous relationship, which obviously means that we have agreed within the relationship model that it's okay for us to have sex with other people outside of our relationship. But that's not all that encompasses our relationship. And I think, well, I don't think, I know any high functioning relationship, sex, yes, is a component of that relationship, but it's not the end all of that relationship. And I think, I keep saying I think, I know that communication is high on the list of what makes a successful relationship. And when you are able to strip away some of society's restrictions and just really open up with each other about where you are on any number of topics, it does increase the level of communication that you have. But here's the secret, though. In order to have those deep conversations with one another, you have to have been willing to have those deep conversations with yourself. You have to be unafraid to dig into the marrow and maybe some of the messiness of who you are, and then trust in the relationship enough to be able to reveal that side of yourself to your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And then your partner has to be loving enough and mature enough and empathetic enough to accept that side of who you are and work with you. You get to work as a team. And that's one of the things that I have found in this relationship with you, in this relationship model, that I feel as though we function at a really high degree because we've put in the work. We've asked the hard questions. We've gone through the hard stuff. I mean, we've actually seen what happens if we do this?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if we do that? How do we work together? How do we lean on each other? How do we lean into the relationship? How do we take control of the relationship that we want to have and mold that into something that we both feel comfortable in? So not only is communication vital, but you have to have trust in that communication. You have to have vulnerability in that. You've got to have transparency in that. This whole line of, oh, I can never tell my partner that, they never understand. Well, not only are you selling yourself short, but you're selling your partner short. Well, like, if you can't tell your partner, who on earth, well, like, what does that even mean? Well, they wouldn't understand. Well, they're supposed to be your partner. You know, so to be able to have reached a level with you where we can interact with each other in a way that there's not a stigma, there's not a judgment, there's a freedom within that, and there's a compersion degree within that, has made this relationship unlike anything I've ever experienced across the board in my relationships that I've had in life.
Sure.
Not, I mean,
For
not
me too.
just with somebody, not just another partner, but just in all of my relationships, whether I'm talking about the relationships with my kids or, you know, my parents or your parents or any of that. Yeah. What else?
I think friendships, and I don't know if this is any different than just a monogamous relationship, but definitely in our relationship and the friendships we've built, and not only with people that are consensually non-monogamous, but monogamous couples as well, and that have maybe I don't know, maybe somehow our relationship it's really helped you and I grow and become more social with people.
Oh, 100%.
And so we're like today, I'm okay with talking to people I don't know as a couple.
Yeah.
And there's an example recently. We were at a neighborhood event, and we met a couple at the neighborhood event that we'd never met before. They live in our neighborhood. And we were talking about my car. And then at some point we said, hey, let's get together sometime and have lunch or dinner. And I mean, that wouldn't have happened with me a few years back.
Right.
And then we ended up running into them at another local restaurant.
Yeah.
And then we scheduled dinner. We had dinner. I mean, and they've become friends. And
Yeah.
Just
and it's nothing sexual.
No. But I think I believe that for us, for you and I, it may not be the same for everybody, but for you and I, being in the relationship model that we're in, and, you know, starting Open Level 101 and being at the clubs often and reaching out and talking to people all the time, it has really taught us how to communicate with people that we don't know.
That's a good point.
And so I think I really love that part because you know me. I mean, I love just hanging out with people, talking to them over coffee.
I know. Oh, but you know, here's the other thing that I've noticed with our friends. It's the topic of conversation too. You know, it can be different based on who we're hanging out with. You know, I notice sometimes when we have a gathering at our house that's full of other people that are in the lifestyle, and again, there's not anything sexual going on. It's just conversation that we're having with these friends. The topic is very open and honest about everybody's relationship. And that's the thing that I really love sometimes about couples that are in the lifestyle is they want to talk about how great their relationship is with their partner. I just love my partner when she does this, or I just love my partner when he does that. And we went to this outing together and we had a great time and we talked to these and blah, 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 blah. And sometimes if I'm hanging out with couples that aren't in that, you have to be careful because sometimes it's like, oh, I can't believe my husband did this. He really ticks me off when he does that, or he does that. You know, sometimes the topic of conversation in those settings can be different. And it's something that I notice. Mm-hmm. Like, I like how complimentary you and I are about each other when we're talking to our friends, or when some of our friends are talking to us, where it's it's something that's much more uplifting in relationship building. You know, I think sometimes we can get into a routine where it's like, oh, it's super cute or fun to gripe about our partner. And yeah, sure, there's going to be stuff that our partner does that irritate us from time to time. And I'm not saying that we can't ever talk about that, because that's, you know, being honest too. But it can become a habit forming trait, and you know, can be detrimental if we're not careful with it. But I do think the friendships that we've garnered, you know, we're much more purposeful about what those are.
Yeah.
And how those look, and who we want to hang out with. So that's another good one.
Another one, and this can go work. I don't know. It's definitely it's kind of walking the line between sexual and non-sexual, but in the lifestyle, in it's consensual non-monogamous, there's groups that do travel together. And we've been able to experience a lot of travel with these large groups.
Yep.
They're so much fun. It's amazing.
Yep.
And yes, sex may occur, but so can exploring new places.
Together, yes.
And hearing new DJs,
yes.
and music and dancing and
yes.
new foods from different places in the world. And I would encourage anyone, no matter what kind of relationship model you're in, get involved with some kind of group that does travel.
Yes.
So we've also done some with our vegan friends and
yes.
vegan groups, and the same experiences. You know, exploring the world together with people that have something else in common with you, and that is so much fun.
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, there's definitely nothing sexual about it.
Yeah. Well, and then just like you said, just being able to hang out with each other. Mm-hmm. Like that's another favorite in our relationship. It's like, I really enjoy your company. Mm-hmm. Like I like to hang out with you. Yeah. I mean, how often this is so. It's so cute. I love it. John will leave the house to go run an errand, and I can almost like time it. He gets probably to the end of our street and my phone will ring. And he'll like, oh, I meant to tell you this. And then he'll talk to me on his phone till he gets to wherever he's going. I mean, that's how much of a relationship that we have. It's really cute.
I don't know what that's all about. But so do you have one?
I can't think of one.
Cordy, do you have one you want to throw out there?
I was going to say, so one thing is trust. There's a level of trust that you have in your relationship model than in a monogamous.
When I was in non-monogamous, or when I was in strictly monogamous relationships, and granted, this is years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have the tools that I have today to deal with those emotions. But I definitely didn't trust anybody that I was with. I mean, well, they violated trust, and once that was violated, it was really hard for me to gain their trust again. And many times, they would violate trust, you know. And in our relationship, from the very beginning, there was a tremendous amount of trust we had for each other, and it hasn't changed at all. I don't even think about it. It doesn't cross my mind if you're going somewhere about there. First of all, I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, you can't. There's nothing. The only way you could violate trust would be lying to me about something. Mm-hmm. But I just know you wouldn't. I know to my core you wouldn't do that. You would come home and say, "Hey, I met this guy at Neiman Marcus, and we ended up having sex in the dressing room," and I'd be like, "What? Yes." I mean, there's that kind of a trust where I just don't even think about. Like, I wonder what she's doing. She's been gone for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Doesn't cross my mind. There have been some times where, you get stuck in an antique store for a long, long, long time, and I wonder.
Like, are you still there? Like, yeah, that's her.
I just want to make sure nothing happened to you on the way home. But the trust between us is strong, super strong.
Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah, it is. And it's, and if you're not used to that, like if you're not used to trusting, that it can feel odd. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I really can trust this person. Like, I know this person respects our relationship enough to be honest with me, no matter what that honesty is. And that's another one of those things that I really love about the relationship model that we're in is that we can have those hard conversations. We can we can say those things that maybe in another relationship model we wouldn't feel like we could say because of the ramifications of revealing that. Whereas in this relationship model, we've kind of taken some of those barriers down and we've said, no, I want you to be real. I want you to be honest. I want you to tell me these things. And it doesn't have to be a deal breaker. It can actually be a bridge. And Courtney, you even wrote a comment, and this is probably going to be on another one of our videos, but it had to do with boundaries. And your sentence was, a boundary doesn't have to be a barrier. A boundary can be a bridge. And I really, really gravitated towards that sentence, and that's probably why I'm thinking about it now, is our relationship model is built on building a bridge to one another. And I really, really love that. I think it's a really strong analogy, and it really speaks to what we're trying to achieve in our relationship.
And I already just said this, but I want to just reiterate that for me, the trust, I really don't think about it. It doesn't cross my mind unless I'm asked about it. Mm-hmm. And in past relationships, it was always on my mind.
Yeah.
I'm always wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really a negative feeling to be thinking, wondering what's my partner doing, like when I'm not apart, when we're apart from each other, rather. And in our relationship, I've never had that. It just doesn't crop up, and that's really a beautiful thing. And I love that part of our relationship.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me too, another thing that I really love about our relationship that doesn't have anything to do with sex is the satisfaction I have in this relationship. Like I think in some of my other relationships, I felt like there was still something else out there, like, or I was searching for it. And I don't know if that was just me looking externally and not really being in touch with myself. I don't really know what the core of that was, but it's, just talking about this, and it seems funny and it seems ironic, or it almost seems like an oxymoron. Like, I would be satisfied in a relationship, a long-term relationship with somebody who I've agreed to kind of an across-the-board sexual experience kind of platform.
Mm-hmm.
But then, oddly enough, it would create a high level of satisfaction with you. So I find that I almost can't even wrap my head around that too, even though I'm the one in the relationship. So I think that's a cool byproduct of this as well that I did not expect.
Yeah. Courtney, anything else?
I was just say the only other thing I could think of is that y'all are just happy with your partner who is happy with themselves.
True.
You're not lost in your role as husband and wife. You can be. John says he wants to go race Ferraris, next weekend. You're like, awesome. I'm gonna go do my garden.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go do my thing.
Y'all. That's something that's a little bit different versus from my experience in a monogamous relationship. It's been.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He can say that. He can say, I'm gonna go fiddle around with my hobby, or he can say, I'm going out of town, but I contacted so and so. I'm going to meet up with her, and I'm going to spend the weekend there. And I'm like, have fun,
Yeah, there's no jealousy of time lost with you. There's this understanding of, because you've communicated enough, you have enough trust in him that he's not doing this hobby because he doesn't want to spend time with you. It's just it's something he enjoys,
and it's the same with the other.
And I think that's coming with time in our relationship too.
Absolutely.
Because definitely in the beginning,
growth.
we spent a lot of time together, and probably gave up some things that we would do independently. But as we've begun to trust and grow together, we've been able to find hobbies for ourselves that we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to have that independence in a relationship. A lot of couples have a hard time finding that.
Yeah.
And I was in some relationships where someone maybe wanted some type of independence like that, and I was so controlling because I was in so much fear of losing that person. I would find a way not to make that happen, and that's part of that control trust thing that I was talking about earlier that I'm really glad is gone.
Yeah, because isn't that funny? The thing that we try to control and keep from happening, we literally end up creating.
Yeah.
Like we create what we hate, right? So anyway.
So we hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about other benefits of our relationship, other than, the
Jesus.
Check out openlove101.com. Sign up for our email list. We'll be sure and notify you upcoming videos, blogs, travel, etc. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.
Great job, Jackie. And if you like that video, please click the button below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll give you plenty of more. Plenty of more? Didn't he go?